Welcome to Kick Back with Chris. Kick Back with Chris, the martial arts podcast.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Kick Back with Chris. Hope you're all well. Hope you're all settling into the autumn term now with your school, if you're training or teaching or whatever it is you have going on out there. Lots going on in my school as always. It's always a fun time of the year with all the activities and half-term breaks and all the usual stuff going on. So this week we're going to be joined a little bit later on by Lucci, who is the organiser of the Kaizen Martial Arts Show. We've actually had him on before on one of our earlier episodes. On the subject of episodes, this is actually episode number 20, which has come around super quick. And I was actually chatting to my wife about this the other day, and she's not, to be fair, she doesn't really listen to the podcast. Martial arts isn't her thing. I think she just equates martial arts to being the thing that keeps me away from home a lot. So the last thing she wants to do is listen to more martial arts talk on a podcast. But no, I was chatting with her about it, and even she was surprised when I said, it's 20 episodes already. And got to say a big thanks, obviously, to everybody out there that's supported and got involved in various levels, from sending in articles, obviously all the guests that we've had on, and future guests that we've got coming up as well in the not too distant future. So starting off, as always, what we always like to do is to go through things that have been going off on social media, but with an extra element now, because as many of you will be aware, this last week or so I set up a Facebook group. Now the Facebook group itself is called Podcast Martial Arts Event Promotion, and the reason that I set this up was, well, basically, previously what I've been doing is sort of trolling the internet for news. Now, despite the fact that I've been saying to people, if you've got events, if you've got things going on, let me know and I'll mention it for you. But, us martial artists as a whole, we're a little bit slow in the uptake, usually, without a bit of prompting and poking. So what I thought I'd do, which I'm really glad I did because it's worked really well, is set up this martial arts podcast event promotion group so that anybody with anything going on, all you have to do is just post a link on there. And it works in two ways, which is really cool, because obviously I'm assuming, unless they're a bit strange, the majority of the people that are on that group are interested in martial arts. So not only are they going to be able to read what you post, but then I can then read it out on the podcast, which is what I'm going to do now. So it works in two ways. It works really well. So if you're listening to this and you're interested in getting some free promotion, because who doesn't like free? And whilst it's free, obviously I will say, as the podcast picks up in numbers, and the situation changes, this might not be something that I'm going to be throwing out for free constantly. So, make the most of it now whilst it's free. So the first thing we've got posted, which is actually quite cool, is actually the details for the Kaizen Martial Arts Expo 2019, which I'm not going to go into now in great detail because obviously Lucci's going to be on talking about it a little bit later on. But the link is on there, so if you want to go and check it out, you can go straight onto the link. What I'll actually do is post a link to this Facebook group from the actual podcast group on Facebook as well, so that you can find it a little bit easier as well. The next one we've got coming up is Mr. Neil Kirkland, who's actually been on the show in a previous episode. He's posted a link to the Cornerstone seminar, which is on Saturday the 24th of November at 12 p.m. Now, I'm just going to actually, where's it say? It's Trumpington Sport. That sounds like an amazing place. Trumpington Sport. I'm just going to go click on the event now and see what's what for that. Now, the details on there, let's just say, our details are where all the instructors who support and advisors come together to show what they do best. The many facets of martial arts all under one roof. And of course, completely inclusive, which is the really important part there. It's £25 per person for 5 hours training with some of the best instructors in the country. So you go on there and check it out there. I'm just trying to look to see if there's any more details on there. Obviously, I've mentioned the date, which is November 24th. But I would say probably go on the Facebook group, have a chat with Neil, and I'm sure you'll get more information to you about the people involved and that sort of thing. And then next one, which I think we've actually mentioned this one, but I'll give it another plug anyway. So we've got the Shikon Tai Chi coaching program. Mr. Steve Rose posted this one. And then I'm just going to read out the information on here. So this 1 day a month for 10 months intensive course will be taught personally by Steve Rowe, 9th Dan, an internationally renowned Tai Chi teacher, chairman and founder of both the martial arts standards agency, the Shikon Martial Arts International. It is designed to certificate and give Tai Chi coaches the ability to teach Tai Chi and run and administer a club to gold standard level. Participants will be registered with the... Have I started reading something that's going to be... I've just clicked on more and it's huge. Right, I'll stop there, right? Because this is an epic post. I'm not going to go through it all, but the long and short of it is if you're interested, get in touch with Steve on Facebook, or his phone number is 07545232221. There, you see, I've just learned a valuable lesson. Don't start reading something until you've checked how long the post is, because that's a massive post. I'm not reading all that out. As much as I think Steve's cool, I ain't got time to read all that stuff. Now, the next post, actually, fun enough, is from Steve again. It's a broadsword seminar in Chatham. It's on the 4th of November, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. So it's a broadsword seminar. It says everyone welcome. The seminar is with Steve himself. So it's 30. It says 30 to 20 pound dojo members. I'm guessing that's £30 if you're not a member and £20 if you are a member. But as I say, the poster is in the group. You can go check that one out. And the next one coming up this is one I've given several plugs to, but I'm going to give another one because you might be listening to this as your first podcast and not seen the or heard the previous ones. So on Sunday, October 28th, which is this coming weekend, there's the Defendo and UK Military Deployment Restraint Workshop, which is really hard to say. This is an event with two Steves that I know really well, so Steve Smith and Steve Timperley. It'll be a really good day, definitely. I mean, I've been to the workshops for both of these guys, and they're always excellently presented. So 12:30 till 4:30 this Sunday. It's in Catterick at Steve Smith's gym. I must be careful to make sure that I say which Steve. At the Progressive Martial Arts Academy, Forbes Court, Walkerville Industrial Estate, Colburn, Catterick Garrison, and the postcode's DL94XD. You get in touch with Steve on Facebook, or you can email info@progressivemartialarts.co.uk. The next one, this is the penultimate one, is from Mr. John McNally, who we've also had on the show in a previous episode, talking about the ITC, the International Taekwondo Council, and all the great work that they do. This one is let me see, all right, hang on. I'm going to try and get this one right because I'm going to get the details wrong otherwise. International Taekwondo Council Coubertin Seminar with Mr. John McNally on the 18th of November, 10 a.m. till 12 p.m. at Sutton Coldfield Grammar School for Girls. There's all the information's on there, as I say. Go check it out. It's on the Facebook group. And the final one, which is another event. This one is the Southwest Martial Arts and Wellbeing. I'm going to get this one right as it's show. I'm going to have to click on the link to check. I don't want to say it wrong. Southwest Martial Arts and Wellbeing Show 2019. Tickets are £20 for 16 plus, £15 for children, so that's 4 to 16. Family tickets, 2 adults and 2 children, £60. And they're going to be doing workshops and all that sort of thing. I need to actually have a chat with them about this, just to see what's what. But it's obviously in the southwest. The majority of things that go on, obviously other than the events that are sometimes in London, they tend to be north, which is great for me. But it's really bad for everybody else at the other end of the country. So this one is southwest based. So I'm going to double check to see if I can find where it is, because it doesn't say on this top post here. Oh, in Bristol. So the Bupa Health Centre in... Oh, no, that's somebody that's supporting it. But I would guess that they are based in Bristol if somebody is sponsoring them from Bristol. So... I'll be honest. It just says, oh yeah, here we go. The show is being held in Bristol. Easy access to South Wales, the South London, etc., etc. They need to actually update their Facebook group a little bit to be a bit more clear, because I had to search for that one. But if you're listening, guys, update Facebook group with more details. I had to search back to a post in July to find that then. So. Anyway, moving on now that we've got all that out of the way. So that worked pretty well. I'm glad that worked as well. So if you're interested in getting your stuff mentioned in that opening section, get in touch. So moving on now to our talking point for this week. Now, this one is going to be one that is perhaps going to prompt a little bit of, I'm not going to say backlash. It might interaction. We'll use a positive word, interaction. It's something that comes up in conversation quite a lot across social media and when meeting up with other instructors at events and that sort of thing. And lots of people have very differing opinions on this one, very strong differing opinions on this one. And I just wanted to weigh in really with my opinion on it. And, I'm trying to... It's difficult because obviously I need to try and stay unbiased in certain respects, but obviously I am going to have an opinion on this as an instructor and a martial artist. But it's the tricky subject, or not tricky, depending on how you sit on this, of non-contact based sort of combat martial arts, if that makes sense. Now, I say that because obviously I'm not naive to the fact that there are arts out there that are practiced in a non-contact manner. Okay, two very different ones at very extreme ends of the spectrum. You have systems like Tai Chi, which, yes, I know before anybody jumps down my throat, I know some people do practice there's sort of more contact-based practical elements of it, but I think it's fair to say to a wider audience, Tai Chi is probably seen as being a non-contact, more gentle art for people to practice. And then at the total opposite end, which again, we've already talked about this before, I think it was on episode 2, you've got sort of your tricking and your more performance-based martial arts, that for argument's sake aren't contact-based unless you throw yourself at the floor in a ridiculous manner, which I have done plenty of times over the years. But no, joking aside, obviously they're not a contact-based art. It's purely for performance, which I know some people don't like, but that's a different subject altogether. So what the reason why I wanted to discuss this one is I've had a little bit of experience with this as an instructor with people that have come to us from schools which practice non-contact based martial arts. And the reason I have a little bit of an issue with it is, and again, before I go on to this, I do want to say that I understand that there is, with martial arts, there is something out there for everybody. And I do respect that different people have different needs from their training. But I think sometimes the way that the systems are promoted or advertised, it starts getting a little bit iffy, when it's promoted as a sort of a practical non-contact art. And they go, well, we practice self-defense, but anyway, I've had some experience with some people that have come from these systems, and they've come to us as like, very, they're quite high grades within their system, and they arrive at the school and they're super keen. They want to put sparring kit on and they want to get stuck in, and they get a massive shock. And it's always puzzled me how you can have, say, a Korean based art or a Japanese art like a sort of a taekwondo or karate derivative, and promote it as being non-contact. Because martial arts in their very nature are contact-based. And a large part of being able to understand how to, in my opinion, and how to be able to apply the techniques that we practice is to understand how to take a hit and to obviously deliver a hit. And if you don't have any experience of those two things, how can you effectively use your art, the things that you're practicing? I kind of like to equate it to, like, let's say for example, I've had in the past, we've had senior grades and dan grades, black belts even, come to us from non-contact martial arts background, non-contact karate, non-contact whatever you want to call it, and I kind of equate it to being, that's a high level. Black belt is a high level. Well, that's subjective, I know, to a lot of people, but anyway, it's like having an Olympic level swimmer that's never got in the water. They can say, oh, but look at this, and they demonstrate this amazing front crawl technique or butterfly technique or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, they've never got wet before. They've never actually got in the water, but they've practiced to an Olympic level technique at their swimming. Now, how can you have a black belt in a martial art where you've never been hit and you've never hit anybody else. That it doesn't seem to make sense in my head. Now, do I understand why these systems exist? Absolutely, 100% I do. Because I remember as a child being utterly petrified at the thought of getting kicked in the face, punched in the face, anything along those lines, you know. And so I understand why it's there. I understand why it's there, but at the same time, I can't help but feel that it's a little bit wrong, because, you know, now I enjoy my sparring and I love getting involved, and it's you know, we have a sparring session at the end of the week on a Friday and Saturday morning now, and I look forward to that so much because of the experiences I had as a child, and because, you know, I was lucky enough to have an instructor that was tough enough to say, no, you know, you've got to do this as part of your training. And he helped me to understand, I mean, I've talked about this before in previous episodes, you know, he helped me to understand the importance of getting over that mental hurdle of worrying about being hit. Otherwise, I would have it there for the rest of my life. And it's not to say that I enjoy getting kicked in the face anymore, but I don't have a worry or a fear about it there anymore, an irrational level of fear that I had as a child. And I think, you know, enabling people to get to, say, Dan grade levels in martial arts and having never been hit before, or unless it's been accidental, or hit anybody else, it's setting people up for a massive fail, should we say, or fall, if they end up in a situation where they have to defend themselves. Now, again, I know this is an opening up another can of worms potentially, in that some people will argue that, you know, if you're practicing a sport martial art, you know, kickboxing, blah blah blah, you're not actually practicing self-defense, which I kind of understand. But at the same time, if you're actively engaging in hitting people and getting hit, you do have an appreciation for it, the distance and the timing, and also just the plain simple fact of getting hit. You know, it's in there. So, you know, there is going to be some sort of mental, some processing, both physically and mentally and emotionally, going on that will enable you to be in a better position in a self-defense situation, at least more so than having practiced for 4.5-5 years, moving around a room, hitting pads, and never actually hitting anybody or getting hit by anybody. So maybe you have a different opinion on this one, and I do appreciate that, you know, different people will feel different ways about this. Maybe you practice a non-contact based art. Maybe you teach one. If you do, you'd be welcome to come on the show and have a chat with me. Now, look, I'm not going to get anybody or jump down anybody's throat about this one. I would be open to the idea of talking about it and discussing it more. But, you know, that again, that's just my standpoint, my sort of feelings on it. Maybe you can change them. That would be cool if you would be interested in getting involved and maybe potentially changing my mind on this one. But anyway, moving on. So we're going to move on now to our weekly, what I'm going to call it. Now, I started out calling this one a chit chat with Matt, and it's really hard to say, and it does sound a bit strange. And then it suddenly dawned on me, we could just call it Matt Chat. Matt Chat with Matthew Chapman. So that's what we're going to go to now. Enjoy, folks. Oh, get your notepads ready. It's a good one.
You're listening to Kick Back with Chris, the martial arts podcast, brought to you by www.onlinekicking.co.uk.
Okay, so it's that point in the show again where we're going to turn to Mr. Matt Chapman to impart us some expert knowledge on something martial arts. And the really cool thing about this is, guys, I don't know what we're going to talk about, so I'm learning as you guys are learning at the same time. So get your pen and paper ready, and let's get learning. How you doing, Matt?
Very good, thank you, Chris.
Fantastic. So what we're going to talk about today, I'm excited.
Well, in the last one we just kind of ended talking about USP, unique selling proposition, unique sales position, which I think is quite important for martial arts schools because it helps you attract the right type of students that you want to work with. So I thought we'd talk about that.
Excellent. Go on then. So where do we start with this one then?
Well, as you noted, like last week, there's a lot of competition in martial arts schools in many towns.
Yep.
Certain schools, you know, in direct competition, maybe teaching a similar style. So you've got to figure out how you can demonstrate to the general public why you are different, superior to the other martial arts schools in your local area so that they'll choose you.
Okay.
And that's called your unique selling or sales proposition. It's what makes you unique as a school in your local area.
Okay, that's cool.
So here's a test for you.
Yeah, go on then.
What's your USP? What makes you different than the other schools in your area?
Wow. Okay. Okay. No. It's cool. I would say our USP. Well, originally our USP was we were the only full-time school.
Right.
There weren't any others.
Yeah. So professionalism, full-time, access to classes, black belt coaches, dedicated training spaces. Matted area, not out of church halls.
That's it.
All of that stuff.
Yep. And then I would say now more so now is it's a reputation for working with people with different life challenges. So we've got built up a really good reputation locally, especially through the Fighting for Autism group. We get a lot of referrals through that side of things. That's sort of that's our USP now, which is great. It's a really good positive thing for me and obviously for the school, but it's a very, very positive image as well. It's a very, it's a nice thing for parents to be talking about in the playground for a change.
Yes, of course. And do you use that in your advertising marketing a lot?
We use the logo, obviously to let people know that we're part of the cause. And we don't really mention it per se, but we're definitely obviously the logo's on there, and it's something that people always mention. Now, generally speaking, the majority of the time, that's one of the things that they mention when. So
in your town, you'd be known as that school that would be able to help in that situation.
Yes.
Well, that's perfect. That's a perfect USP. So the listeners need to think what is unique about their school as opposed to the other schools in their local area. Maybe they focus more on competition and they have a great competition team that have won loads of medals. Maybe they focus more on kids and they have multiple kids classes on different levels. Maybe they have a particular style that they focus on. Maybe they like a particular style that is attractive to the people. But you definitely need to use your USP in your marketing so that people who are looking for what you offer will find it. So my old school, we really focused on the fun element and the fact that I'm not particularly traditional and the school wasn't particularly traditional. So we don't have formal names. People just call me Matt during the classes, which is shocking to most martial arts instructors. But I didn't want to be sensei or sifu or anything like that. I just like people call me Matt. We're very relaxed about how we interact with the students. It's more a family sort of. It's not family actually. It's more like hanging out with a good group of friends.
Yes.
It's not formal. It's relaxed. It's friendly. There's a bit of joking, and we still retain the respect, but it's so we really did a lot of marketing on that kind of friendly, relaxed vibe. And guess what? We attract people who like that friendly, relaxed vibe. If you want a more traditional, more serious, more authoritarian school, we're not the place for you. Mm. And, I generally don't get on with people like that anyway. So I prefer to hang out with and teach people who are a bit more relaxed and friendly. So that way you attract the type of students that you want to work with.
Excellent.
Which makes your day-to-day life happier.
And I suppose there might be some people out there now that are listening to this going, I don't know what my USP is. I don't know what it is. But you can survey your members, can't you? You could say, what is it about our school that you like? And if there is an overwhelming response to one particular area, you kind of think, that must be... That must be it,
yeah. And then you'd use that in all your marketing. So all your website could include what your USP is and refer back to it and give examples of it and testimonials on it so that, you get known in the local area as the place to go for that particular topic. Because otherwise people are going to choose a martial arts school based on maybe how the website looks or based on price, the cheap one they'll try and go to. But if you have something that's unique in your whole area, they might choose you based on that rather than just on price. So that's why it's important.
Yeah, that is an important one because I've fallen for that, unfortunately, in the past. Gone with the whole, well, you should come to us because we're cheaper. And and then I should be careful because they might be listening, but these sort of, no, I'm not going to use names in particular, but some of the people they join and you're like, oh, what have I done here?
Well, that's it. You're trying to we did that when we did like Groupon deals. And people who on Groupon are looking for deals, they're kind of deal hunters. They're not really serious about like keeping with the training. They just want a quick deal. So they weren't right for our club, and it didn't work, and it created tension in me, and I didn't enjoy interacting with them. So therefore, you need to focus more on your USP and less on like trying to get people in and deals and prices and all that sort of stuff. A lot of martial arts places focus on like the family feel that they get, everyone looking after each other. Some are more about the competition. Some are more about focusing on developing kids. You just got to find what's unique and special about you and make sure you talk about it all the time in your social media, put it on your website all the time, get it out there and get known as, oh yeah, that place. Even if it's the most professional place in the town that you're in, you run your academy most professionally, classes start and finish on time, it's clean, it's tidy, everything is organized, people know when gradings are happening, you're just professional.
I like
so
it.
Any of those things work, but they just set you apart from the competition. That's what you want.
Absolutely. And I mean, if anything, you're a prime example of that, I suppose, because if I would say that there's two things that people will most recognize you for immediately is one, your online training with your pad work, with the Mittmaster work, and two, your online courses and teaching, the business side. This you're doing now. I would say if you ask anybody in the martial arts, it'd be one of those two things that they'll go in and go, well, that's what he does.
Exactly.
And so you've worked it well.
Yeah, well, that was my thing. I thought about because I was, doing the teaching in classes and my school, and I needed a bit of a challenge, a bit of a mental challenge, and just to try something different. And I thought, what do I really love? Well, I really love pads, hitting pads, holding pads, and I really love sparring. So why don't I just do that? That's kind of like my two passions. So I did. And when I first started out, like no one had ever heard of me because I was just like a little local club owner. But through creating a USP and just hammering it over and over and over and over and ramming it down people's necks, now people go, oh, you're the Mittmaster guy. So. Yeah.
I think that's the part that, I certainly do, if I'm honest, have a problem with a little bit getting over is, I'm very much like, I posted on Facebook this morning, I can't post again this afternoon, that's too much, people are going to be annoyed with me. It's getting over that hurdle of you can't really tell people enough, can you?
No, and generally, also, you do realize that Facebook only shows less than 3% of your posts to your friends. Yeah. And your members in your groups. So you could literally post the same post 5 or 6 times in the same day, and like not everyone would see it. So it's worth doing and it's worth repeating. And you generally want to be, for your business, posting on your business sort of 4, 5, 6 times a day, ideally. If you can.
As part of those 10 acts of marketing that we discussed a couple of weeks ago. So
yeah, but don't just do 10 Facebook posts.
No. 10 different Facebook posts.
Spread it out a little bit and mix it up a little bit. Don't cheat and do 10 identical Facebook posts.
Oh, I love it. That's brilliant.
Nice try.
Yeah, thank you. But no, seriously, thank you again for your time. Something that I keep forgetting to mention each week is anybody out there, if anybody has any questions, please do send them in. That is a super important part of this. Is we want to be helping you guys out there that have got the questions. Because if you're listening to this thinking, I'd like some help with that or this or whatever, even if it's something that we've already discussed, drop us an email. Use the speak pipe function. That'd be really cool if you could send us an audio recording, because then we can reply to your audio recording. That'd be a really cool thing to do.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Get some technology use going. Or if you just like to send emails and phone calls, then do that too as well. That's very cool. But no, Matt, thanks for your time as always.
Thank you. Had fun.
And we'll speak again next time.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Enjoy our podcast? Please remember to subscribe, rate, and review Kickback with Chris on iTunes today.
So, as always, a big thanks to Matt for his time again, sharing his knowledge. I'm sure you will agree. Any school owners and instructors out there, it's quite often it's one of those things that you don't always give these things any consideration until somebody gives you a poke to remind you how important it is that we think about this stuff. So go back, review that, and as with the previous weeks, and think about how it can apply to you and how it can help make changes in your school. And obviously, as I mentioned at the end of the call, do get in touch with your questions. I know we've been focusing primarily on the business side of things this last couple of calls, but Matt's also happy to talk about training tips, anything along the lines of the courses that he runs. So if you've got any questions about those, send those in, and we'll be happy to answer those during the podcast and the live recordings. So just going back to a little bit earlier on when I was discussing my thoughts on more generally speaking, sort of more concept-based practical systems and more styles. I'm being careful not to mention too many styles or particular schools, because obviously that's the last thing I want to do. Both to the people training in those systems and also to any school owners as well. But the podcast Facebook group has, it's exploded in conversation. One of the things that I do in the process of recording these episodes is I'll drop little hints in the Facebook group as to what I'm going to be discussing. And when I mentioned, I was maybe a little bit cheeky. I wasn't very very clear. I sort of just used the tagline of non-contact martial arts, good or bad ? And it did fire off quite as is always the case with martial artists, quite a heated debate, and lots of people chiming in with different ideas. Now, obviously, nobody that's commented on there has actually heard what I had to say, and obviously, I did cover the points, with things like Tai Chi and Wushu and XMA, sort of performance martial arts stuff. Obviously, that is non-contact, but it isn't advertised as being or promoted as being a contact-based art. Just to clarify again for any of the people listening now that were part of the conversation on the Facebook group, or indeed listen to what I said earlier on. My issue with this really isn't that there's an existence of non-contact based martial arts. Absolutely, there will be some people out there that want to hit pads and have a workout, and we offer a fitness based kickboxing class. Absolutely, but the difference is we don't advertise it as being something that will help with self-defense, or teach you effective martial arts, and that's where for me a line gets crossed when we see adverts for clubs that are non-contact based yet still claim there to be some sort of effectiveness, and then again handing out grades in what they're practicing. Again, I'm open to the idea of being convinced otherwise. So if you teach a non-contact based system, or maybe you train in one or have, and you feel that there are merits to it that maybe I've missed, get in touch with us via the website at kickbackpodcast.com. Obviously, you can also go to the same website and use the speak pipe function. Drop me a voicemail, get in touch on Facebook or whatever. So now what we're going to do, we're actually going to go to our interview for the week with Lucci from Kaizen. And I've been meaning to catch up with him for quite a while now, actually. He was on the podcast quite a while ago, actually, talking about the last show. Just wanted to bring him on just to give you guys the chance to get up to date on what's been going on with the show, why he's been quiet of recent, and but just a good opportunity for a good chinwag and a catch up. So let's go to that interview, and I'll be back with you guys on the other side.
You're listening to Kick Back with Chris, the martial arts podcast, brought to you by www.onlinekicking.co.uk.
Okay, so joining us on the phone now, we've got Lucci, organizer extraordinaire of the Kaizen show. How are we doing, sir?
Hello, Chris. How are you?
I'm really good, thanks. I'm spinning all those plates as I always am, but we wouldn't do things any different, would we?
No, not at all.
So how are you keeping? It's been a while. We've not spoke for a while. You've been
pretty
quiet.
I've had a rest, mate. I've had a little rest since June and our last Kaizen show.
Yeah.
I thought I'd just spend time with family and just sort myself out a bit, mate. And
it's fair to say.
I needed it, really.
Yeah, that's the side that us martial artists do tend to neglect, don't we? Family and time for ourselves.
Absolutely.
It's a common theme that I hear across the industry. That regardless of what area of martial arts people are involved in, we do have a tendency to roll in at midnight and that sort of thing. We're always training here, there, and everywhere. So. Oh, good to hear, mate. Good for you. The last show again was huge, big step up on the previous year, and I'm sure you've got more of that planned for the next show as well.
It was this time. It was about this time last year we did our first Kaizen Expo.
Yeah.
I'm sure you remember it well, Chris. You did it. You know, we people were falling off your seminar. I can remember. And so it was something like. So June was like, you know, can we match that again? And like you said, it's a bit better, but bloody hell, this one's going to be a 2-day event next July. Same venue, same outdoor kind of with the covers kind of thing. Same sort of setup, similar setup to the one in June, but it's going to be over 2 days. And trying to match what we did in June is going to be quite difficult. So, you know, at the back of that, mate, I thought about how we can change things and tweak things, and what we're going to be doing, mate, for July is your normal workshops, your normal like seminars for your up and coming instructors and instructors what want to showcase their stuff, and I think we're going to have 4 super seminars per day. Now these super seminars, there's going to be an additional cost to it, and they're going to be like up to 2 hours, and these are going to be selected instructors at the top of their game, because I believe this time now it's time to reward those top instructors who are giving up their time. Kaizen's been a great platform for martial arts teachers to get their stuff out there, to showcase their stuff, and at the back of that, I could see this already from last year. A lot of them top instructors have benefit them doing these shows, but now I think now's the time to reward them. So there's going to be like 4 super seminars, as I like it. These seminars are going to be exclusive. They're going to be closed doors. They're going to be some, you know, really top secret stuff going off in there, hopefully.
Cool.
I've not announced nothing yet. I don't even know who's doing the super seminars yet, but that's what I'll be concentrating on in the next couple of months. So come the new year, we'll be absolutely, you know, pushing them to the max, and I should have some names for you.
Brilliant. Oh, a little bit of an exclusive there for people, and that's cool. Sounds like a good step forwards, that, definitely.
You're the fourth person to know about this, on well, obviously all your listeners now.
Few thousand extra.
The other 2 being Tony Pillage and Gary Henshaw.
Wow.
And because I, as you know, Tony gives me a lot of advice, and he's helped me out the last couple of Kaizens. You know, every time I've fallen on my face, he's picked me up again. Yeah. Give me a slap and go, you know, you should be doing it like this. So, yeah.
Excellent.
It's good to have people like that in your corner.
Yeah, and that's something I've always wondered. How do you keep yourself motivated to keep coming back and doing these? Because the undertaking must be, you know, physically and emotionally and financially, it must be.
I absolutely wore myself out the last 2, hence the reason why I really needed a rest. I made myself quite ill, to be honest. I was in a really, really dark place, man. So I've kept low and sorted myself out, changed my diet, went for a run, and I can't run, and just sort of had a look. I just took 2 steps back, mate, and I think I absolutely wore myself out big time, man. Absolutely big time. Financial size, there ain't none. The very small profit we made went to friends, to help friends out. So
that's brilliant.
2 of our friends in the martial arts. So hence the reason, you know, sponsorship is really, really important, and you know, paying top instructors to do their seminars, that's also important. So finding a way to do that, hence the reason the super seminars for next year. But I'll you know, back of all that, mate, I'm launching Kaizen Business next year.
Wow.
Which is sort of like same format for small to medium sized businesses. Now, hopefully, that will make me some money, which can fund the martial arts.
Got you.
The martial art expo, because the martial art expo, it's just so me and my mates can get together. Everyone can get together. So yeah. I mean, that's where my career's going. Well, that's where I want it to go.
Yeah.
Anyway, so networking events and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the biggest plus points, obviously, aside from all the great instructors and the training. But for me, one of the big things that I take away from the show every year is that it's the atmosphere and it's friends together, and you get to see everybody in one place at the same time, which is brilliant. Absolutely
it's awesome,
brilliant.
isn't it? It's a great family vibe. Talking of family vibe, I want to make it more family next year. So under 16s, you get in for free, and obviously again the disabled martial artists and disabled people, you also get in for free as well. There's no way I'll be charging a ticket for anyone who's with a disability. I don't think it's really fair. And kids under 16 years old, as long as you're part of a martial arts organisation, because we don't want every Tom, Dick and Harry coming in. I'm under 16, just you need to really be some sort of either belong to a martial art club or anything like that, and some sort of proof. If you can prove that, then you're going to get free entry. Ultimately, I'm finding a way to do a free event altogether. I'm talking.
Wow.
But it's proven really difficult though, to be honest. But one step at a time. It is really proven a little bit difficult, but we've got to rely on sponsors, and I can't praise my sponsors enough. Thank you very much. Without them, without the instructors, and obviously there'll be no show. Everybody's thanking me. You got really nothing for me to thank me for. I've just come up with the idea, put it out there, warn myself out. That's all I did, and you guys did the rest. To be honest.
Well, I say what, mate. Credit to you for trying to do things a bit differently, because a lot of the shows that come they come and go, but they tend to all follow the same mold. They organise the crowd. You pay to get in. You do your thing. You go home. Whereas you're looking at, from year to year, you're changing things up. You're trying new things. Some things work great. Some things not so great. But that's how you find these things out, don't you? You're daring to be different. You're daring to be different, mate. You're daring to be different.
Yeah, we're going to be honouring the great martial artists next year by having. That's how it all started. I put a post on one of the martial art threads forums, and we noticed there was a lot of interest from the JKD under Richard Bustello's organisation.
Yeah. And
Tony Pillage come up with an idea with, why don't we have a JKD kind of area and dedicated to JKD? And I was like, I spoke to Tony, he called me after, and I said, well, why don't we have a Richard Bustello memorial seminar area and dedicate that to Carly and JKD? And we can do that on the Saturday. And I was like, well, I'm a jiu-jitsu guy. I'm a jiu-jitsu guy. I've been doing jiu-jitsu most of my life. Under my old federation was the World Jiu-Jitsu Federation. A gentleman who ran that was a guy called Professor Robert Clark. Now he passed away 2012. Most of the jiu-jitsu in Europe is down to him, basically. What we're learning, a lot of it is Robert Clark's jiu-jitsu, and a lot of jiu-jitsu organisations still teach Robert Clark's jiu-jitsu. And I spoke to his wife last night, and with her blessing, I asked for a blessing. I said, look, this is what I want to do. I like to have the Soki Robert Clark Memorial area. Great. And I'm hoping there's a lot of really good martial arts teachers out there, especially in jiu-jitsu, which they sort of hide themselves out of the way. I can, and on Art Sacred, I've trained with the best martial arts teachers in the world. Most of them you wouldn't have heard of. Purely, they're hidden outside the way. They're still teaching in community centres, and they're just hidden. And no one's really approached them. No magazines have approached them and things like that. But these guys are amazing. And I'm hoping to bring all of them together. And that's what Kaizen's about, really. I'm not really... At first, I was like, oh, I love to have your Gracies, your Benny the Jets, and your Superfoots, and your Ken Shamrocks, and all these great international martial arts teachers. And then I can't help but think, you know what? I don't really need them. I don't really want them, to be honest, because we've got them on our doorstep. I strongly believe British martial arts is up there in the world. We have got literally the best in the world here. I've always said on the reality-based side, because part part of my martial arts training has been reality based, and I think we've got the best reality based martial arts teachers probably in the world, and we've got them here on our doorstep. So I've got to think now: do we really need? Does Kaizen really need these international stars coming over? I don't think so. Especially, and our reason being, we've got them on our doorstep.
Mm-hmm.
I can confirm we got the great Mittmaster.
Yep.
Exclusive to Kaizen next year.
That's going to be
First
great.
time at Kaizen. We got the Iron Man of Bolton, Mr. Trevor Roberts.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be here last October. Unfortunately, he went away and couldn't do it. Rosie Sexton.
Yeah.
Has been confirmed. I know she's which Gary Henshaw's has organised that for me. I know she's a pioneer of MMA and ex-UFC. So we're looking at Kaizen at all different angles. Who else is there? A guy called Chris Jones from up north. He's come back, and we've booked the roof for him.
Oh, I love it. That's brilliant.
And we've got our Kaizen favourites, and that's all I'm going to say about that on the lineup.
Keep and people need to keep a lookout, keep an ear out, and listen for it, and then watch for it. See what's what. Good.
I've only posted what on the Kaizen Martial Art Expo page, and reason being I've kept quite low this part of the coming up to like the new year, because there's some amazing events coming up, and I didn't want to take anyone's thunder, or I didn't want to put my Kaizen out there when I think. Seminars like Tony's last seminar in Coventry, that needs a lot of exposure, and the Cornerstone seminar. There's lots of really good seminars, and I thought, you know what, I'm not gonna push this too much. I'm gonna do a lot of work in the background and launch it properly, probably in the new year. What I'm very good at is social media marketing, so I'm confident I can get it out there again in the new year as well. And 2019 is looking absolutely awesome again for British martial arts, with some cracking events popping up, and it's just making our industry in British martial arts where it should be, and that's at the top of the tree, in my opinion.
It is. No, absolutely agree. And I've kind of fallen on my feet with this podcast at this time, really, because it's I'm kind of riding the crest of that positive wave that's going on at the minute within the industry.
And it's really nice. It's really nice to be involved in it as well.
Yeah,
really nice. No drama.
No
drama. No crap. Just get your stuff out there and do it, man.
That's it. There's room for everybody. This is something that I've said before in previous things. There's room for everybody, and it might only be a small country, but there's still enough space and enough distance between everybody for us all to do our own thing. And for those that do want to travel and do all the events, they can. There's no problem with that. The only problem seems to occur when a few people bang heads, and we know what it's like. We know what it's like. But no, there's
people have banged my head. People tried to come bang my head. Problem is, mate, I've got a hard head.
Don't we know it?
And now it just goes over my head. So I let it go over my head, and just This shouldn't be competition. At the end of the day, my show's different to everybody else's.
Absolutely.
Different format, different platform. There's great shows in this country. For this generation of martial artists, you're bloody lucky.
Mm-hmm.
What a great time to be in British martial arts at the moment. What a great time now. Up and coming.
Absolutely. Well, Lucia, as always, it's a huge pleasure to have you on the show and have a quick catch up and a chat. That 20 minutes has flown by, as it always does.
Thank you.
Just before I let you go, sir, where's the best place for people to find out about the show next year and to get in touch maybe with you? And
if you please like and share the Kaizen. That's Kaizen. It's not Kaizen, it's Kaizen. It means for better in Japanese. Yeah, okay. A lot of people pronounce it wrong. It's quite funny, but I'll just let them to it. I'll just leave them to it. It's Kaizen, Kaizen, Martial Arts Expo. Okay. And you can speak to myself or Gary Henshaw. Gary Henshaw's been he helped out last year, and he's strongly involved once again in it for next year as well. So you can speak to any of us on our Facebook pages. But yeah, it's on Kaizen Martial Art Expo page. So yeah,
Go check it out, folks. Good stuff. All right, well, again, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
And I'm sure we will catch up a little bit closer to the time again, and when you've got a little bit more, you can share. But I just wanted I thought it'd be nice to have you on for episode. So this is our episode 20 today. This is the 2-0.
Quick.
Hasn't it?
I really enjoy your shows. I've not missed one. I really do enjoy them.
Oh, well, that's really cool to
hear. Keep doing what you're doing, man. I really do enjoy them, man. Really.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, well, we'll catch up again soon. Have a good rest of your day, and keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you, sir.
Cheers.
See you later.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Enjoy our podcast? Please remember to subscribe, rate, and review Kickback with Chris on iTunes today.
So thanks again to Lucci for his time today on the phone. It's always good to catch up and to hear about all the exciting things they've got going on for the show. As I mentioned in the call, it's really cool to hear that he's daring to try things a little bit different, and it's not in any way a get at any of the other shows, because obviously they have their own proven formula they use that works well for them in their shows. But it's cool to see on here that Lucci's going to try a few things out, and again, that's the only way to really improve it, isn't it? It's to give these new ideas a go, and hopefully I'll be able to be there and be involved with the show. And anybody out there that's trained with me at my previous workshops or is interested, keep an eye out on the Facebook group for Kaizen, and hopefully we'll have some sort of announcement soon and be able to get you some information on how you can get stuff booked in. So as I mentioned earlier on, this is episode 20, which is, it is flown by so quick. I know I say that quite often, but I don't know whether it's just as I'm getting older or because of all the different things I'm involved with at the same time as a podcast, but it just seems to have zipped by so far. But one thing that I did do on Facebook not long ago was I just asked people to give me some feedback on the show and how it's helped them and what they think, basically. And what I wanted to do is just to pick out a few of those comments that people posted to share with you. Now, I am going to mention names, so sorry to anybody out there that didn't want me to do that, but you did put it on Facebook, so it's kind of like the world knows anyway, so not so bad there. So I'm going to start off with one. This is a cool one, actually. This was one that Mr. David Jenkins of the BKC actually posted, and he mentioned that I'll quote it word for word. It helps showcase the passion and experience of one of your interviewees, proving them to be an ideal candidate for a position on one of our committees. How cool is that? That's exactly the kind of thing that I was looking to do with the show, was to sort of increase the reach of the networking that's going on, as well as having a passion for martial arts myself and just wanting to talk in general, but also, providing a platform for people to network and connect, and that is a case with that exactly. And I think I know who it is that he's talking about. I'm not going to say just in case, but just in case. The next one I want to mention is Mr. Phil Gillen, who actually runs a podcast himself, and he said, actually, this is quite nice. Firstly, you were born to podcast. It's a great tone you have, and I think you come across really well. Probably from years of teaching, that is actually probably quite true. That's me paraphrasing there, by the way. I also enjoy just having a gateway into the martial arts community that you provide. I know I might be all about the film side of martial arts. This is him, by the way. But I do actually study, and I did study in my youth. So yes, keep that interest going. So thank you very much. So yeah, that's really cool. Thank you. Mr. John McNally says, a great way of expressing oneself and to help, if possible, many others. The podcast you do is very well done, well thought out, and well presented. I'm getting a bit of a big head reading these, aren't I, to be fair? I better not go too far with these. We've just had him on the show, Mr. Lucci Delgado. I always probably say his name wrong, but I'm pretty much used to that now. You're spreading a positive vibe within the British martial arts. This will go to show that British martial arts industry is one of, if not the best in the world. Can't say better than that, really. And then Stuart Usher said that he concurs with Lucci. Mr. Mark Brown, who's commented on loads of stuff on our Facebook posts, he says, great, mate, keep doing what you're doing, bringing the community together. If I'm helping with that little bit, then I can't really be much happier than that. That's awesome. I'm just going to go through these now. So Mr. Stephen Bannon has commented to say, I have always found the podcast to be informative without being preachy or overly opinionated. He might have changed his mind after this episode. We'll see. The content has opened my eyes to a much wider world of the martial arts, leading me to go on and find out more on my own. A great show, well thought out, presented and put together. Keep it going. Well, thank you, Stephen, and that's great to hear that it's actually encouraged you to go out and learn more and find out more about martial arts. That's brilliant. Really, really, really cool to hear. Keeping that mind open. Mr. Neil Kirkland reached out to say it was great to give us some exposure, and it's informative with different aspects of the martial arts putting their points of view across. Okay, that's cool to know. And obviously it was more than a pleasure to help you out with the exposure that we gave you for your group, sir, which we have actually mentioned in the news section earlier on. Jamie Clubb says, I was honoured to be a guest, well presented, and in an honest approach. Great show. Well, thank you, Jamie, coming from yourself, who also run podcasts. That's really, really, really good to hear. Now, I've made the mistake of this next one of not actually clicking to make it bigger, but Mags, who's been on before, I'll read the opening section. He says, love the podcast and the guest interviews, always enlightening and often a learning experience. And often? When is it not? No, I'm joking. I'll read the next bit that I can see, because obviously it's a bigger post and I forgot to expand it before I took the screen grab. It's an opportunity to gain an insight into the perspective of martial arts and other martial artists and ask questions in a non-judgmental way, which I feel is so important. Yep, absolutely. 100% concur with you on that one. Let me see on here. I know that he actually went on to mention Gordon Bircham, Lee Childs, Nathan Salmon, and Eric Jacobus as well in that post, because I tagged him directly under it, so I know that that's one of the things he mentioned. So obviously, I think it was something to do with his son, finding out more about those people and thanking us for sharing the information. Nathan, who I just mentioned, has said, I think he's called it my podcast under my name, but yeah, we'll call it Kickback with Chris. It's not just about me. Obviously, we've got our Matt Chat involved as well, Mr. Matt Chapman now as well, so it's more than just me. I think the podcast is a great way to hear about what's happening in the UK martial arts world. Chris has done a great job on being factual and professional in his opinions. Again, he might not. Well, we'll see after today. I recommend anyone wanting to advertise. My phone just shut off. 1 second. Anybody wanting to advertise their martial arts related services to get on the podcast. We have a good number of referrals. Oh, yeah, that's a good thing. Is saying we had a good number of referrals from the episode we did together. Yes, so Nathan actually very kindly jumped in at the last minute when I had a guest cancellation. We had a chat about UTX and about tricking and about all the things he's involved with. And what I do remember him saying at the time was, after we posted about his school and the classes that he offers, he had quite a lot of interest from other listeners and some of the guests actually that got involved and contacted him directly. Obviously, I mentioned at the start somebody might have been in touch with somebody else about positions within their council, and in this same situation, somebody or multiple people got in touch with Nathan and are now training with him in his school, which is just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I'm just going to go back again because I've just shut that down again accidentally. Master Terry Johnson, we are very lucky to have people like Chris Jones. I don't think lots of people will agree with you on that one, to be fair. No, we are very lucky to have people like Chris Jones, Kickback Podcast, for ongoing information about the martial arts world. Fantastic show. Well, thank you, sir. I don't think many people will agree with you on that first sentence, but there we go. Mr. Lee Charles says, I was completely honoured to feature on the show. I've been listening since the start, and Chris himself is a very knowledgeable martial artist with an incredible amount of experience and skills. Well, thank you, sir. Wow, very kind of you to say. I personally felt humbled to be on the show, and the interview got some great feedback. Good to hear, that's what we like. I would recommend all martial artists and non-martial artists get involved and give it a listen. Brilliant. If there's any non-martial artists out there that are listening to the show, you have stuck with this really well, and I applaud you for sticking with it for this long. And finally, Mr. Nick Thomas. I wish I would keep I'm going to have to change my phone settings so it doesn't turn off so quick. Mr. Nick Thomas says, the podcast has been a great insight into the varied world of martial arts. Having only recently returned to training after a very long break, it's an extremely useful source of information and has guided me on my way to understanding martial arts with a much wider view. Plus, I would add, it's very entertaining and something that I look forward to. Ready for each episode in advance, my knowledge and enjoyment further. Well, do you know what? That is so super kind of you to say, and really cool to hear that. The show, both myself and Matt more recently, we've been able to influence your training and help you on your way. So, thank you very much for your input on that one, sir. So I think we need to bring it to a close, really. What I will say on this is, episode 20. Again, I know I say it every week, but I genuinely do mean this. Thank you all for your help. It's a huge help. And I know I've been mentioning this a lot, but with this being the advent of our 20th episode again, if you are listening to this via iTunes, and you've obviously, I would assume you've already subscribed. If not, please do go subscribe. But also, if you could leave a star rating and a review, it helps so much. If you could, this has been probably one of them, along with getting people to send in questions and content, which has been tricky. But it's martial arts. I know what people are like. It's cool. I get it, which is why I've stuck with it for 20 episodes. But alongside getting people to send stuff in, getting people to put ratings and reviews, I get loads of messages from people saying how much they like the show, like all those cool messages there, which I'm super grateful for. Don't get me wrong, absolutely I am. But what really helps us more than anything else at the minute is a star rating and a review on iTunes, because it helps to push the show out to a wider audience. And obviously, the more people we have listening, the more opportunities we have, the more chances we have to increase our listenership, which in turn will help the podcast. We're looking at this as on a broader spectrum, as on a longer term scale, basis, and upscaling. Costs are going to start incurring, and I need to find a way to cover those, and obviously advertising will help with that, but we need to have the listenership to be able to do that. So if you can spare 30 seconds, go onto iTunes, 2 minutes. If you don't have iTunes, you go and install it first and uninstall it afterwards. But joking aside, go and leave us a star rating and review. It will help us massively. Now, just to close on a similar subject, one thing that I am looking for, obviously, we're very kind. He was very kind to agree to be involved. Mr. Matt Chapman's come on board most recently. But what I'm also looking for, anybody out there that would be interested in getting involved with helping us with our social media presence. Quite simply, all it would need really is somebody to be able to go on a regular basis and share the links, get conversations going within the Facebook group, obviously on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, all the normal social media platforms. Now, at the minute, this is, again, as I mentioned, we're not in a position to be able to pay somebody for this position. But if you do have a keen interest, or you're looking, if this is something that you wanted to get into more in the future, obviously working in social media, and you would like, or you're just nice and you want to help out a little bit, then please do get in touch. Obviously, as the show grows, I intend to, pay back all these people that help out along the way in some way, one way or another. So get in touch, if you're willing to help, get in touch, and we will see what we can work out, and hopefully help increase our listenership through an increased social media presence. I do the best that I can, but as I mentioned earlier in the interview with Lucci, I'm spinning lots of plates at the minute, trying to do the online course, trying to keep my full-time school going, focusing on my return to film work, and then obviously family and stuff like that as well. So if you're keen, get in touch, and we'll have a chat and see what we can do. Failing that, have a great weekend. I'm hoping to be able to get another show out next week rather than a 2-week gap, because we've got half term, got a little bit more time to spend on things. So keep a listen out, keep a watch out, and keep that interaction going on the Facebook group. That is so cool to see, even if people were having a little bit of an argument, but that's all good. We're still friends. Not with me, they weren't arguing, I might add, it was other people, but anyway, it's all good to see, and I will catch up with you all next episode.